In the Eastern Realm, within a dense forest, two black celestial creatures are caressing each other beneath. Then, suddenly, a loud scream startled them. Damn it, he's transmigrated. His hand trembled along with his wrinkled, aged face and snow-white hair. He gaped in astonishment at the sight of his own self, revealing that nearly all of his teeth had fallen out, leaving only a few behind. He was horrified, wondering how his appearance could have. Just now, I was clearly sound asleep in math class, imagining him sleeping in class. He raised his hand to touch that wrinkled, aged face, crying out in anger. Oh heavens, a 185-centimeter guy like me, who never even had a girlfriend and was just about to embrace the beautiful life of college, now wakes up as an old man like this. In bewilderment, he touched his forehead with 2 fingers and said, I won't be satisfied. If you've transmigrated, then this old geezer must be a high-level transcendent. I want to see your memory. This is the cultivation realm of Luon. Cultivators are divided into stages in sequence: chi refining, foundation establishment, golden core, nascent soul, spirit transformation, integration, great ultimate, life crossing, and transcendence. Next is the memory of the original master. The original master, Diep Quan Lam, a prodigiously talented youth who had cultivated to the golden core stage, was selected, based on his exceptional innate talent, to be the eminent leader of the Xuantian sect, one of the 6 major. However, during an act of purging evil cultivators, he was ambushed and his golden core was destroyed, leading to the complete loss of his cultivation and leaving him a worthless failure. For more than 15 years, he became dull and lived a negative, resigned life on the mountain, indifferent to worldly matters, until he reached the age of 110. After learning the original master's memory, he was utterly speechless. After a while, he remarked, I'm just an ordinary person. He was on the verge of bursting into tears even more, thinking that by my previous age, wouldn't I have died at any moment? I just transmigrated. Then an idea struck him. Wait, based on my years of experience writing online novels, if I have transmigrated, there must surely be a system. Finishing his thought, he confidently stroked his beard and said, I still have a chance. He grasped his staff and struck the ground forcefully. He raised his hand forward and shouted, System, you damn thing, why haven't you shown your face yet? All around it was silent, no soul in sight. He gestured with his hand as his voice boomed. Are you playing hide and seek with me? Hurry up, don't mess about. At his wit's end, he clasped his hands earnestly and said, Lord Tongtu, it's all my fault. What I said earlier was just a joke. Please say something. Then he thought of something and said, That's it. He rummaged inside the original master's robe and said, Perhaps it's not a memory storage system after all. Instead, it might be a ring belonging to an old master of a prestigious sect. Why don't He picked up the ring and called, Old Medicine Master, come forth from within the depths. The ring did not budge an iota. Worried, he cried out, Old man, stop pretending. I know you're hiding in there. Disappointed, he tossed the ring aside. After a moment, in a fit of anger, he raised his staff towards the sky and cursed, Old Heavenly Master. Suddenly, a blue light appeared accompanied by a voice. Scanning and measuring, detecting that the host is swearing profusely. System has now activated in passive mode. Dear host, please refrain from swearing. Act civilized. Astonished, he exclaimed, Lord Tongtu? With joy, he looked up at the system, his face drenched in tears and snot, and said, You finally appeared. You are not acting appropriately at all. I'm starting to suspect that this book has begun following the path of mortals. The system apologized. My apologies. I was a bit drowsy earlier and have just woken up. To make it up to you, I've granted you a newbie gift package. Would you like to open it? He boldly declared, Open it for me. The system announced, Congratulations, host. You have received a special ability. The stronger the opponent, the stronger you become. Whenever you confront anyone whose cultivation realm is higher than yours, you will instantly receive a boost in cultivation, 1 level higher than that opponent's. With his eyes widening in disbelief, he exclaimed, What the heck? Really? For instance, right now, I'm an ordinary person, and if I were to fight an immortal. Seeing his disbelief, the system responded, I assure you, I deceive no one. Just give it a try. I guarantee there won't be any issues. Hearing that, he grinned broadly. If that's truly the case, wouldn't I be unbeatable? I could always be 1 cultivation level above my opponents. Darn it, then the system kindly reminded, Host, you only have 1 hour left before your life ends. The frail body of the original master wanted to descend the mountain. But how could he, being on the brink of death? I must quickly descend, find someone, and engage in a collision to absorb their cultivation to prolong my life. Struggling to descend the mountain, he panted. Well, great. You say the heavenly demon is just waiting on the mountain. Why cause trouble? Now, you've already disturbed me enough, the system kindly reminded. Host, the remaining time before your death is 35 minutes. Irritated, he snapped back. Don't rush me. If you hurry like you're delivering my fragile bones, I won't make it in time. Suddenly, the sky darkened and thunder and lightning roared. What's happening? Are those black monstrosities demonic beasts? A group of people appeared out of nowhere. One of them, dressed in white with a fierce air, declared, Who dares cause trouble for my Xuantian sect? It turned out that he was Hu Shunyan, the sect leader of Xuantian sect. A monstrous eagle demon cursed at the group. You wretched lot of the Xuantian sect. Who would have thought that our demon king is still alive? Today, I will certainly wipe you out. The man in white from the group pointed at the eagle demon and declared, I'll have you know that in the year you ravaged the La Kingdom, I severely injured you, casting you down a cliff of 10,000 zhang. Now you're lucky to have survived, yet you dare seek revenge, even dragging along these vermin? The eagle demon soared into the sky, unleashed a surge of power, and laughed boisterously. Haha, is this enough? Everyone in that group was startled, sweating profusely, their faces filled with tension. What the? You've broken through to the nascent soul stage? The man in brown had just asked. Sect leader, Hu Shunyan, what are we to do now? A martial artist at the nascent soul stage is not an opponent we can contend with. His expression changed. He turned around, resolutely saying, Even so, we cannot just sit back and accept this. They resolved to fight a life-or-death battle, a do-or-die clash determined to defend the Xuantian sect. Together, they charged at the leader, Hu Shunyan. The eagle demon also commanded his followers, My minions, charge for the demon king, wipe out these stinking cultivators. Both sides charged at each other, engaging in a fierce You, standing on the sidelines with the original master's body double, shouted, Hey, someone come and hit me! Hurry, attack! The system flashed a message. Host, you currently have 20 minutes of remaining lifespan. Please immediately implement rescue measures. In terror, sweating profusely, he reached out, exclaiming, This can't be. How could I have to be reincarnated so quickly? They're too far away. They can't possibly hear me. You, limping with your frail body, took each step painstakingly. Now, descending the mountain, I'm afraid I won't make it in time. I have no choice but to. The eagle demon looked at the group with disdain. Humph. You're all so feeble. If this is the full extent of your strength, then today will be your doom. The Demon King will show you the true power of a nascent soul. It unleashed a surge of power from above, injuring all of those cultivators. They all collapsed onto the ground, each clutching their wounds. At that moment, Hu Shunyan realized that there was no other option. The gap between the golden core and nascent soul stages was far too vast. He laughed gleefully. Ha ha! Who among you still dares oppose me? Sit back and wait for your death. He heard a sound from afar. So it turns out you are attracting attention. That foolish bird turned back. Hey, don't look around. I'm talking to you. The bird, infuriated, shouted, Damn you, old man. You really want to die, don't you? How dare you insult me? He kept using the loudspeaker non-stop to provoke it, saying, You foolish bird, if you won't obey, then come and hit me. I'm right here. If you don't, you'll be nothing but my son. Thankfully, I discovered in the original master's memory that the loudspeaker in the house can be activated with a spirit stone. Otherwise, you'd be doomed. The bird, infuriated and red-faced, swooped over, muttering, In all my life as your demon king, I've never encountered someone so arrogant. Ah, my mistake. Today I finally meet you. It appeared that Hu Shunyan recognized his original master. He realized that this was his junior brother, Dep Sude. One of the girls among them also gasped, Oh my, that is Fiu Miaofeng, once a legend in his time. Another cultivator remarked, He withdrew from the mortal world some 15 years ago. How could he suddenly appear here? Sect leader Hu Shunyan surmised that perhaps he intended to lend some strength. Unfortunately, that very year, he was assassinated by another, his cultivation completely nullified, leaving him a failure. They thought, And yet you dare to ridicule the Than Bang Vuong. Doesn't that eagle demon clearly seek his own demise? The bird sneered. Ha ha, so you're nothing but an old cripple from decades ago, huh? He was utterly exhausted, and all he could do was goad the bird into a frenzy. Son, I don't even need cultivation to kill you and turn you into roasted quail. If you've got the guts, come and face death. The system then announced, Host, you have only 10 seconds left before you perish. With his face drenched in sweat, he shouted, You foolish bird, why do you keep blabbering? All this talk is useless. If you don't attack me, I'll die in just a few fleeting seconds. Desperate, he cried out, Save me! Hurry, hurry, hurry! The bird unleashed its technique and declared, If you truly wish to seek death, then I, the Demon King, will turn you to ashes. He was overjoyed. Excellent! At last, I've been hit. The system announced, Measurement check, detecting that the host is being attacked by an enemy at the nascent soul initial stage. Activating effect. The stronger the enemy, the greater the cultivation boost received. Around him, red rays of light like flames enveloped him. He asked the system, So, is this the nascent soul? It replied, Naturally, my system is highly professional. The energies of that bird and yours collided, causing a massive explosion. The bird gaped. What's happening? Those cultivators and Hushunian are discussing such formidable chi. After all, is Diepsude still alive? It was a magnificent scene as he appeared, accompanied by the power of a genuine nascent. He reached out his hand to sense it, wondering if this was truly the power of the original immortal star. No wonder he was among the top-tier humans. Truly feared. The eagle was utterly bewildered, stammering, You're also an original immortal? Even your cultivation base is higher than mine? The Taoist practitioners exclaimed, How can that be? Depshude is a powerful original immortal? They added, It turns out that his years of decline were merely a facade to hide his true power. Outwardly, he appears to be an ordinary mortal, but in truth, he has quietly broken through to the original immortal stage. You're nothing but a fraud. Everyone was taken aback by Tethian Tuyet's true power. With tears in his eyes, Depshude cried out in disbelief. That is original immortal level. Who would have thought that although there are few people in the vast wilderness, our Huyantian sect could produce such an individual? At that moment, the monstrous eagle was no longer as fierce and arrogant as before. It had witnessed his power and, realizing it could not contend, clasped its wings together and pleaded, Please forgive me, dear Taoist. This incident was merely a misunderstanding. I have decided to resolve the conflict with your sect, and when time permits, I will formally join and pay homage to you. Deep Quan Lam roared in anger. You dare harm me? I do not provoke others, but if anyone dares to harm me, I will exact revenge. You, creature, have committed countless atrocities among mortals. Suddenly, the system announced, Congratulations! The owner has, for the first time, achieved a cultivation base and received a random divine skill reward, Dai Quang Tu Tian Chi. Realizing that this was none other than the move of Tiolam Tu, he glared at the wretched eagle and bellowed, I will exterminate your entire clan and annihilate your sect. And then, once I'm done, I'll let you know that all of this was merely an accidental misunderstanding. Do you believe that? At these words, the monstrous eagle trembled in fear. Seeing that negotiation and reconciliation were impossible, it advised one last time, Your cultivation base is only slightly lower than mine, and the gap isn't large. Do you really wish for a situation where one with Daip Quan Lam had resolved to fight to the bitter end? Angrily, he pointed his finger at the creature and said, How dare you attack me? I do not initiate conflict, but if anyone dares harm me, I will certainly take my revenge. You have committed innumerable crimes among mortals. Punishment is unavoidable. And as for you, a demonic beast, if you kill a few humans, it won't even be worth a tear. The creature, seething with endless anger, no longer held back. It spread its two wings, unleashing immense power, and declared, You forced me into this. I'm determined to engage in a life-or-death battle with you. Even if I have to scorch all my inner energy, I will drag you down with me. He was not the least bit afraid. Instead, he smiled scornfully. At that moment, he had vanished from sight. Only the sound of Dai Huang Tu Thian Chi echoed, and then a terrifying power surged forth. The beast screamed in terror. Its eyes widened, mouth agape, and sweat streaming over its body at the sight of such overwhelming. Seeing death approaching, the creature hastily tried to negotiate with him. Wait, this was once a favor granted to you by my disciple. My clan no longer even needs it now. But it was too late. Only then did the creature regret its actions. In panic, it pleaded, I beg you. I've only just reached original immortal stage. I still don't want to die. Not bothering to listen any further, he struck. sending the creature off to atone before its ancestors. His power was so overwhelming that it created a massive explosion. Surrounding rocks and earth shattered into fragments, and a huge flame erupted with dust and smoke billowing. Seeing that the monstrous sovereign had fallen, the remaining creatures panicked. With their plan thwarted, they scrambled off hastily. As they fled, they shouted to their comrades, "The great sovereign is dead. Run for your lives." But Daip Quan Lam was not about to let them escape so easily. Did they really think they could run? He raised his hand, and in an instant, everything before him was incinerated. His power was so terrifying that not even a mosquito could escape his grasp. After dealing with them, he flew over to the sect leader and calmly said, "These miserable birds will no longer dare trouble the Thien Hien sect." Only then did Huhu Mien breathe a sigh of relief and say, "Thank you, Dep Shude. We were truly lucky this time." Seeing him, Elder Lao III beside him clasped his hands in apology. "I'm sorry for having despised you just now. I used to think your cultivation base was utterly ruined, but I never imagined you had broken through to original immortal." Feng Zhu of the Tianhuang and Fenghuian sect, to Thien Tuyet, immediately interjected and praised him. "What are you talking about? Look at Dep Shude's bearing. How could he possibly be?" Feng Zhu, the swordmaster of Feng Tianhuian sect, continued to Thien Tuyet's compliment. "Indeed, Dep Shude's modest nature is why he doesn't flaunt his abilities yet silently protects the sect." They quickly showered him with praise, though with a hint of doubt. Deep Quan Lam sighed. "What an astute fellow. He's quite imaginative. Well, that works out. I won't have to waste my breath explaining everything, huh?" Just as they were celebrating their recent breakthrough, a loud shout suddenly rang out, announcing grave news to the sect leader. Two disciples, one covered in wounds and unable to stand, had been attacked. They rushed in, panicked, exclaiming, "The Fongloi sect has suddenly invaded and seized our sect's spiritual minerals and meridians. Our disciples are in utter devastation." The news left everyone stunned and dumbfounded, especially the sect leader, Huhu Mien. He could hardly believe his ears and was extremely furious. "How can that be? The Fongloi sect usually maintains good relations with us. Why would they dare be so brazen this time?" Worried, Huhu Mien added, "Spiritual meridians and spiritual minerals are vital to the Huyen Thien sect. Without them, our cultivation path is severed, dooming us to destruction." Then he turned to Dep Quan Lam and said, "Dep Shude, I'm preparing to have our disciples retrieve our resources. Are you agreeable to that?" Deep Quan Lam furrowed his brows in thought. Fongloi sect is one of the 6 main sects in the vast wilderness. In the past, despite numerous conflicts, they managed to keep things under control. But now, invading at this moment, clearly they've allied with demonic clans to infiltrate. This is true. Suddenly, the system announced, "Mission activated, check-in. Please complete your check-in at Fongloi sect. The owner will receive unimaginable rewards." Diep Quan Lam received the notification with excitement. "Oh, another mission. After all, if I can encounter strong opponents, I might as well wipe out their territory and seize their resources." After some thought, he decided and told everyone, "You all continue with your tasks. I'll head straight to Fongloi sect to exterminate them and restore balance for everyone." Elder Lao III rushed over in astonishment, his eyes filled with admiration for his courage. "Well done, Daipshud. You're truly outstanding." Without wasting any time, Dep Quan Lam immediately set off, flying toward Fongloi sect. Before leaving, he instructed everyone, "Keep it up, everyone. I'll go ahead." As they all looked up watching him fly away, their hearts were full of thoughts. Huhu Mien murmured, "How many years has it been since the Huyen Thien sect was this strong? With the support of Duck Tru, if we had someone like Dep Fong Chu, we could become the foremost sect among the great sects in the vast wilderness." Scene transitions to the main gate of Feng Tuet sect. Inside the main hall, the disciples were cheerfully discussing. One tall, bearded disciple said, "I never expected things to go so smoothly. After delivering the demonic king to the Huyen Thien sect, we even managed to seize all their spiritual meridians. And look at that guy with his hair tied up. He's clenching his hands, imagining a bright future where we become the #1 sect in the vast wilderness, and that demonic king will not target us." A disciple in front of them, upon hearing this, cried out, "What are you afraid of? Don't you know that today Fongloi sect has invited a prominent figure from Wuhua sect? With him here, there will be no trouble at all." In the main hall of Fongloi sect, everything was magnificently grand. The sect leader sat proudly at the center, with his disciple. The sect leader of Fong Loi sect, Tran Van Hai, turned cheerfully to speak with Elder Mok. Mok Lao, I've heard that my son, Tran Kyo, performed extraordinarily at Wuhua sect and has been taken on as a personal disciple by some sect elder. Is that true? Elder Mok replied calmly. Sect leader Tran, I rushed here from Thanchao because of this matter. The esteemed young master has been highly regarded by the former exalted master and has been imparted with the supreme Taoist techniques. In the future, his potential will... Hearing this, Tran Van Hai was overjoyed. He laughed in extreme satisfaction. Excellent! This means my son now has a chance to become an immortal. His close associate also rejoiced and added, Sect leader, that is truly worthy of congratulations. Suddenly, Elder Mok produced a mysterious box. It turned out that inside was a top-grade Hoa Andan, a pill entrusted by Tran Kyo to be delivered to his father. Tran Van Hai was astonished. A pill? Hoa Andan. The disciples below gaped in wonder, exclaiming, Congratulations, sect leader. With this pill's support, you will definitely break through to become an original immortal cultivator. Taking the gift box from his son, Tran Van Hai laughed heartily. Ha ha ha! My son has spirit indeed. Today is truly a double celebration for our sect. Then he remembered the matter concerning the demonic king and respectfully asked, Elder Mok, is it true about that demonic king? Understanding the sect leader's intent, Elder Mok replied, Rest assured, you need not worry. I, Elder Mok, will handle it smoothly for you. Tran Van Hai was overwhelmed with joy and gratitude, clasping his hands. That's excellent. You've really done us a great favor. Had it not been for Elder Mok neutralizing the demonic king's power this time, our Fong Loi sect might have lost our resources to the Huyen Thien sect. While they were celebrating, a cloud of dust suddenly billowed outside the door. Everyone in the hall was startled. Someone had broken through layer after layer of formations and entered. Seeing his formation destroyed, Tran Van Hai roared in anger. Who the hell are you? Have you lost your mind? How dare you barge into the main hall of our Fong Loi sect? Deep Quan Lam appeared with an air of majesty and style, arms folded and walking casually, declaring, Deep Quan Lam, have come here to kill every last one of you from... The Fong Loi disciples looked on in astonishment, mouths agape, murmuring, his aura, he is at the original immortal level. As soon as he stepped into the main hall, the system announced, Check-in complete at Fong Loi sect. Congratulations, owner. You have received the Nhan Vuong An Dai Hu Kong Thuat. He happily received the skill, a technique he was already well acquainted with. At that moment, Tran Van Hai still hadn't realized who he was or what offense he might have committed against Deep Quan Lam. He thought, this person, a cultivator of the original immortal level from Fong Loi sect, how could he be at odds with me? And why does his name sound so familiar? Nonetheless, he cautiously asked, Fellow Taoist, do you know what is planned for Fong Loi sect in the coming days? Seeing that he still appeared clueless about his identity, Deep Quan Lam coldly glared and said, What are you pretending not to know? Didn't you clearly hear my name? I am Fong Chu, Deep Quan Lam of Fong Huyen Thien sect. Then he added, Your crimes, collaborating with the demonic king to invade the territory of my Huyen Thien sect, are heinous. Today, within our sect, you have no place to exist. Upon hearing this, Tran Van Hai finally realized and asked in astonishment, Deep Quan Lam, so your sect wasn't completely stripped of its cultivation base. But how have you become an original immortal cultivator? I now deduce that your appearance here means that the Thanbang demonic king has been slain, and those wretched Huyen Thien disciples were merely hiding. After saying that, he turned around, pointed at him, and asked Elder Mok, What do you make of the situation now? He had assumed that even with Elder Mok present, an original immortal would be no more than egg against stone. Realizing that Deep Quan Lam's power was still formidable, Elder Mok bellowed at the young man. Quick, kneel and have your hands bound. I shall spare your miserable life. Hurry before I change my mind while I still have time. He expected the young man to tremble and submit, but nothing happened. Having the guts to step in here, what is there to fear from these people? Showing no respect for the elder, he raised his hand to scratch his ear and retorted scornfully, What do you think you are, old man? Do you expect me to dignify you with my respect? Those words infuriated the elder. Look at you, squinting at me, he said. Then he leaped from his seat, displaying his own martial prowess, and cursed him in an arrogant tone. It turned out that this old man also possessed a formidable aura. The junior disciples of Fongloi's sect gasped in amazement at the old man's power, exclaiming, "His immortal form is so imposing, it's terrifying." Meanwhile, Tran Van Hai remained full of confidence. If there are masters and powerful experts in immortal form here, then that Dep Quan Lam of Huyen Thien's sect is surely finished. Ha ha ha. He continued boastfully, provoking Dep Quan Lam. "In the past, I might have taken your life, but today you won't escape. Once you're dead, the Huyen Thien sect will have no support, and I'll easily take control. Hurry, kneel and beg Elder Mok for mercy. Otherwise, I might not even leave your corpse intact. Ha ha ha!" Hearing these words, Dep Quan Lam began to unleash his power. He ground his teeth, baring his fangs in anger, his eyes filled with hatred, and his immortal form transformed. Just as Dep Quan Lam was provoking Elder Mok to fight at Fongloi's sect, simultaneously at the Huyen Thien sect's meridian, Hu Nien, to Thien Tuet and Trio Duc Tru had dispatched people. Numerous Huyen Thien disciples lay defeated on the ground. One of them rushed over, knelt, and reported. Hu Lim, upon hearing the junior disciple's report, was astonished, his eyes widening in disbelief as he exclaimed, "What? The chief of Vu Hoa sect is at Fongloi sect?" The reporting junior disciple suddenly wore a different expression. Smirking maliciously, he said, "Heh, so you thought that without the protection of our Vu Hoa sect, you dare let those despicable brutes invade your Huyen Thien sect? Moreover, when our chief came to Fongloi sect, it was because, lacking a true leader, he joined Vu Hoa sect in Then Chao years ago. Thanks to his outstanding talent and successful cultivation, he is highly regarded by them." A member of Fongloi sect brandished his sword and forced himself upright. Pointing directly at Hu Lim, he laughed disdainfully. "Although I don't know how you dealt with those brutes, I advise you to stop now. Perhaps later you might even be allowed to survive, just to serve as mere labor for our Fongloi sect." Seeing the arrogant actions and condescending tone of that Fongloi disciple, Hu Lim immediately drew his sword and thrust it forward, swiftly lopping off the man's head right before everyone's eyes. Then he turned to all the cultivators and seriously, "There is no time to waste. We must quickly head to Fongloi's sect to rescue Dep Fong Chu." No sooner had Hu Lim finished speaking than he, along with two others, teleported to Fongloi's sect to rescue Diep Fong Chu. Tu Thien Tuet said, "Perhaps Diep Fong Chu has the ability to contend with Vu Hoa sect's Trio Duc Tru," while another worriedly added, "No way. The chief of Vu Hoa sect is at least an immortal transformation cultivator, whereas the original immortal before us is." Gritting his teeth as he soared through the air, Hu Lin declared, "Even if I must sacrifice my life, I will beg Vu Hoa sect to spare Dep Fong Chu. He is the hope of our Huyen Thien sect." After saying that, all the Huyen Thien cultivators united and followed Hu Lin to Fongloi sect. He then admonished, "Disciples, do not act rashly." At the same time, in the main hall of Fongloi's sect, Deep Quan Lam was eagerly awaiting for Elder Mok to come forth and fight. After all, the system had granted him a special skill. The stronger the enemy, the more power you gain. In other words, if he faced an opponent with a higher cultivation base while at a disadvantage, he could immediately acquire a higher level and cultivation base. Thus, Deep Quan Lam wore a hateful expression. Beckoning Elder Mok outside, Tran Van Hai and the other cultivators pointed at Deep Quan Lam and laughed mockingly. "You're nearly dead, and yet you're still laughing? Heh. This little fellow must be so terrified by Elder Mok's immortal transformation that he's become utterly foolish. With his strength, I'd wager even serving as a shoemaker for." The elder of Wu Hua sect stood high above, looking down at Dai Quan Lin, and said, "A cultivator from a backwater small sect in Huangzhou like you dares to show up before me. Your pathetic mystic heaven sect is nothing more than an anthill, mere dust that can be wiped away at any moment in the eyes of Wu Hua sect. And you're no more than a scrap of worthless grass." Every word Elder Mu spat dripped with contempt, his tone arrogantly declaring that no one was worthy of being defeated. For even if this mountain is high, there is always another higher. The elder of Wu Hua sect, maintaining his disdainful attitude, clenched his fist and glared straight at Dai Quan Lin. He roared, "However, since you've angered me, even if you were to kneel and beg like a dog, I will still wipe out every single disciple of your mystic heaven sect." Dai Quan Lin, standing below, saw Elder Mu's expression as though he wished to devour him whole, and retorted with equal contempt, "Oh, is that so? Then come on, try and kill me already! Spare me the endless chatter!" Upon hearing these words, the elder of Wuhua sect's blood boiled with fury. Remaining utterly unruffled by Elder Mu's threat, Dai Lin raised his hand, fingers extended as he activated his fighting stance, and continued. Hua Shenjing? Hua Shenjing is nothing. If you have any guts, face me one-on-one. And if you run, then you'll be my lackey. At that, the elder of Wuhua sect could no longer stand it. He leaped upward, forming a massive hand as his enraged face charged straight toward Dai Lin. Come seek death, Dai Lin. I've been waiting for this moment since earlier, and now it has finally arrived. Tran Van Hai, watching from outside the battle, smiled coolly. In his mind he thought, once Dai Lin is dead, the Mystic Heaven sect will be nothing more than a toy in the hands of Feng Loi sect. That move of Hua Shenjing is on a completely different level than his previous attack. Its aura has left everyone in the Grand Hall utterly astonished. At that very moment, as predicted, the system chimed. Detection. The owner is being attacked by an enemy in the later stage of Hua Shenjing. The passive stimulation effect intensifies as the opponent grows stronger. Now that you have reached the peak of Hua Shenjing, no one in this grand hall can match you. Dai Lin's eyes lit up with understanding. He had now truly attained the peak of Hua Shenjing. Dai Lin stood firm in the face of the elder's strike. Folding his arms, he felt the surge of cultivation energy rising within him and smiled in a somewhat foolish manner. At that moment, Dai Lin generated an orange protective aura around himself and easily dodged Elder Mu's blow. Then, pointing directly at Elder Mu's face, he said, Hua Shenjing? Is that all your meager talent can muster? Stunned, the elder of Wuhua sect gaped in shock. What? I thought you were merely at the Huajing stage. Having failed to land his strike, the elder of Wuhua sect collapsed to the ground, gasping, How can this be? How can a puny mystic heaven sect produce a powerhouse, someone who guards the miserable Huangzhou, who has not only cultivated to Huashen, but reached its very peak? Tran Van Hai, standing behind, quickly interjected, Mystic Heaven sect is truly terrifying if it can hide a move like that. The cultivators of Feng Loi sect in Huangzhou were equally astonished. They stopped in their tracks, whispering with mouths agape and eyes wide in trembling awe. Our venerable ancestor once became a founding patriarch who ensured the sect would last for thousands of years, yet we never witnessed anyone reach the level of Hua Shenjing. And this young fellow, so young, has achieved such a realm? How is that even possible? Tran Van Hai rushed over to Elder Mu and anxiously said, Elder Mu, what are you going to do now? We must save Feng Loi's sect. The elder of Wuhua sect raised his hand, motioning for Tran Van Hai to shut up, and exclaimed in alarm, What nonsense are you spouting? Don't forget that I, your master, hail from Than Chao. The ancient techniques of Wuhua sect that I possess are beyond your wildest imagination. Dai Lin, hearing the elder's words, became curious. He raised his hand, flashing his middle finger, and with utter disdain declared, Old man, do you really think your technique is any better than mine? A surge of mysterious purple chi burst forth from a single point and then spread out in all directions, generating a flow of spiritual energy. Immediately, the elder of Wuhua sect raised 2 fingers, pressing them together as his eyes narrowed, and said, The martial arts of petty sects like yours are worlds apart from those of Wuhua sect. A mysterious purple spiritual energy radiated out as Elder Mu glided atop a blue crystal. Moving with purpose, he began to channel his power and declared, Allow me to broaden your horizons so you may witness once and for all a host of enormous hands materialized from the purple energy. Just moments ago, these hands, with their razor-sharp claws, had been rushing in from all directions toward Dai Lin. The elder of Wuhua sect bellowed, Master Than Mu, get over here. The cultivators of Feng Loi sect, witnessing this supreme technique with their own eyes, were so astonished they could only gasp. Indeed, Wuhua sect's move spans the mortal, spiritual, mysterious, heavenly, and exalted realms. In Huangzhou, the spiritual realm has even been elevated to that of a treasured guardian. What an enormous gap. Standing his ground, the elder of Wuhua sect channeled his technique. Smiling as he struck, he said, Young man, it would be an honor for a lowly sect cultivator like you to die by my hand. Dai Lin, watching Elder Mu's attack, showed not the slightest trace of fear. Calmly preparing a counter, he extended his hand and formed a small orb atop two of his fingers, saying, Hua Shenjing is nothing but a cat's trick, and you dare to flaunt your axe in front of me? After speaking, Dai Quanlin roared, Renwang Seal! He marshaled a surge of qi that swirled around his arm, its spiritual energy palpably strong. Then he lifted his hand, conjuring a massive, powerful yellow hand. Not stopping there, he didn't merely form a single hand. Soon a fully manifested, gigantic figure in blazing red appeared, its very presence declaring who would win the imminent battle. Tran Van Hai and the lower-level cultivators nearby looked up in astonishment, mouths agape, exclaiming, What is that? What level of technique is this? Is it the exalted heavenly level? No, it can't be. Then, with a confident air, Dai Quanlin swung his hand decisively from above, executing the Yin Di Tian Di move. As he spoke, the giant hand he had conjured obeyed his every command, descending straight toward the spot where Elder Mu, the sole sovereign, stood. Before the elder of Wuhua sect could even recompose his thoughts, he stared upward in terror, unable to face what was coming. That enormous hand pressed down on Elder Mu with full force, striking him relentlessly. Yet it had no effect whatsoever. Damn it, roared Elder Mu. I can't possibly defend against this. As the colossal hand inched ever closer, the elder of Wuhua sect trembled and raised both hands in a pleading gesture. Wait, wait! Wuhua sect begs for your mercy. Master, spare my life! Dai Quanlin smirked disdainfully at the elder's pleas and retorted, Wuhua sect is nothing. You don't mess with me. If anyone dares cross me, I will punish them. If you challenge me, I will annihilate you. And with that, Dai Quanlin continued his attack without a hint of stopping. That gigantic hand relentlessly advanced. The elder of Wuhua sect, now trembling uncontrollably, cried out, If I die here, your sect will surely be doomed. Utter annihilation awaits you. As the hand drew even nearer, his eyes bulged and sweat streamed down his face as he added, And you, as the instigator, will suffer an even more miserable fate. Upon hearing this, Dai Quanlin no longer hesitated. Instead, he raised his hand high once more and then swiftly brought it down. Naturally, whatever action Dai Quanlin took, the other would follow. There was no escape for Elder Mu. As he acted, Dai Quanlin bellowed, Ha! Do you still dare threaten me even as you face death? Now, perish! At that moment, the giant hand descended at an astonishing speed, smashing down onto Elder Mu. Tran Van Hai, watching from the side, was rendered speechless in shock. Realizing he could no longer fight back, he immediately dropped to his knees, his head thumping repeatedly against the ground, and cried, Dai Shenjun, it's all been a misunderstanding. Feng Loi sect is ready to submit. We'd gladly serve you like loyal beasts. One after another, the lower-level disciples of Feng Loi sect knelt and kowtowed to Dai Quanlin, chanting, Yes, yes, yes! We are all willing to serve you, our sovereign. Dai Quanlin looked down and laughed. Ha ha! Impressive. Are you truly worthy, my lords? After hearing Dai Quanlin's words, Tran Van Hai bowed his head slightly and said reluctantly, My sovereign, my son Tran Kyo has become a celestial pioneer. To think that you, esteemed by Wuhua sect, would take him as your personal disciple? Aren't you risking provoking our wrath? Do not bring calamity. Dai Quanlin's expression turned sinister and malevolent as he sneered. Oh, just a mere member? Humph. Extending his hand once more, Dai Quanlin continued, As I always say, if you dare cross me, I will not hesitate to punish you. This time, it is Feng Loi sect who has trespassed upon the Mystic Heaven sect in front of me. Today you cannot survive, so do as I command or suffer the consequences. With that, Dai Quanlin again marshaled his enormous spiritual energy and unleashed his hand toward the group of Feng Loi sect members. And yet, that astonishing surge of power was so immense that it effortlessly shattered an entire grand hall of Feng Loi sect, reducing it to rubble in an instant. Tran Van Hai roared with indignation. You will pay in blood. Today, my son will surely exact revenge 1,000-fold, 10,000-fold. A box fell to the ground from somewhere. Standing before the ruins, Dai Quanlin declared, Then I shall eagerly await your celestial immortal offspring to bestow experience upon me. At that moment, Dai Quanlin looked up to the sky and noticed a group approaching. Humph, is that Huhu Nian? But the entire Mystic Heaven sect has arrived far too late. I'm still safe. Yet, if I hadn't been able to strike back, they would have already come to regret their actions. Their battle ended before they even showed up. It was an incredibly swift and dangerous fight. Hu Hu Nian to Thien Tuyet and Trio Duck all bowed and replied. Hu Hu Nian immediately said, "Good. Dai Su Dai, you're still here." Dai Quan Lin looked up and replied, "Indeed. If you weren't here, where would you be? Didn't you promise to come and annihilate Feng Lui's sect?" That naive answer was enough to earn him the nickname Holy Pretender Zhen. Hu Hu Nian immediately grabbed Dai Quan Lin's wrist. Not yet realizing that the Wuhua sect's man had been eliminated, he pulled him along, saying, "For luck's sake, it appears the elder of Wuhua sect has arrived. Perhaps, by chance, he isn't here, allowing you to narrowly escape death." Di Quan Lin stared blankly as Hu Hu Nian continued, "Now, let's go. We still have time." Dai Quan Lin tugged his arm and waved at Hu Hu Nian. "Oh, Brother Huin, that elder? I've already killed him." Hu Hu Nian gasped in astonishment. "What? You actually eliminated the elder of Wuhua sect? Isn't he a cultivator at the Hua Shenjing stage?" Tithien Tuyet, standing aside, chuckled. "Brother Huin, I told you, Dai Fengchu's strength is extraordinary. He can handle things on his own." Dai Quan Lin placed his hand on Hu Hu Nian's shoulder. Still in disbelief, Hu Hu Nian stammered, "How can this be? Can Dai Su Dai truly defeat someone at the Hua Shenjing stage?" Dai Quan Lin replied, "Actually, I too am at the Hua Shenjing stage." Then he added, "Enough talk. Hurry and sweep through Feng Lui's sect to replenish our resources." Hu Hu Nian chuckled lightly. Uh-huh. Dai Quan Lin strode away as Hu Hu Nian watched his retreating figure, still thinking, "I can't believe that Di Su Dai is truly at the Hua Shenjing stage." While Trio Duck was moving about, he noticed the box that had fallen earlier. Picking it up, he said, "Master Deep Feng, we've discovered a primordial pill, perhaps an elixir from Wuhua sect." Seeing this, Dai Quan Lin reached out to Hu Hu Nian and said, "Let the sect master have this primordial pill. With it, a breakthrough to the primordial stage of Mystic Heaven sect will make him even stronger." Hearing this, True Duck handed the pill over to Hu Hu Nian, who gratefully said, "Thank you, Di Su Dai, for your help." Suddenly, the system chimed. "Detection. Within a 100-mile radius, there is someone suitable to be a disciple. Suspected candidate, the cultivation master of Majiao at the early celestial pioneer stage. Would you like to recruit him as your disciple? Upon completion, you will receive unimaginable rewards." Dai Quan Lin grinned and thought, "Excellent, a new mission, and to recruit a disciple at that. Moreover, the candidate is the cultivation master of Magiao at the early celestial pioneer stage. If I can sweet-talk them with my golden finger, wouldn't that directly catapult me into immortality? Then in Huangzhou, even in Thanchao." No, at that moment, Master Hu Hu Nian was still staring intently at the back of Di Su Dai. Suddenly, Feng Chu Thien Huang of Feng Huyan Thien Tong to Thien Tuyet spoke up in concern. "Although it was thanks to Master Deep Feng that we were able to defeat Feng Lui's sect, we have now incurred the wrath of Wuhua sect. I wonder if the entire Eastern Realm, and even Mystic Heaven sect, still has room for us." Hu Hu Nian sighed and agreed. "Indeed, the Wuhua sect is exceedingly powerful. There's no way." Then Hu Hu Nian called out to Dai Su Dai, causing him to turn around. Hu Hu Nian stepped forward and declared, "You, my disciple, possess unparalleled natural talent. You must never let your forerunner leave the Eastern Realm. If Wuhua sect comes to demand retribution, we might all perish. But as long as you survive, Mystic Heaven sect will still." Feng Chu, wielding his sword from Feng Thien Huyan Tong, and Trio Duck both agreed, clasping arms as they said, "Master, you speak truly." From the side, Thien Tuyet smiled and placed his trust in him. Indeed, Dai Fengchu is extraordinarily talented. If he were to fall, the disciples of Mystic Heaven sect echoed their agreement. Exactly. Dai Fengchu will undoubtedly carry our hopes and usher in a new era, so that our sect's reputation once again resounds throughout the four corners of the world. We will stand firm here, even to the very last moment, and never retreat. Dai Fengchu, rest assured, unleash your talent to its fullest. Dai Feng led his entourage out. Everyone was at a loss for words. He smiled inwardly, touched by the unity and strength of his sect. Dai Feng approached the sect master, bowed with his hand over his heart, and said, "Thank you all for your trust. Rest assured, if I dared to act, I have fully considered the consequences. Leave everything from here on out to me. I'll handle it all properly." Smiling, Dai Feng placed his hand on the sect master's shoulder and reassured him. "From now on, leave it all to the sect master. Just tidy things up slowly. I have some important business. No sooner had he finished speaking than Dai Feng dashed away in a cloud of dust. Hu Lim watched his figure recede into the distance, placing his trust in him. Di Sude always finished his battles with a flick of his sleeve and vanished like a wisp of cloud, leaving. At that moment, in the bamboo forest of Shuhu, a figure darted by in an instant. Following him was an old man chasing after with a mocking smile. Heh heh! Beautiful lady, don't run. Let my Dao family have a bit of fun. The young man then turned around in anger and shouted, Get lost right now. I've told you countless times. I'm a man. A real man. The old man continued his perverse chase, sticking out his tongue in a fearsome manner. How can a beauty like you possibly be a man? Don't try to fool your old master. At that moment, the young man stuck out his tongue helplessly, thinking, Exactly, like a tiger that has fallen onto the plains and been violated by dogs. Look at me. I am the cultivation master of Majiao. Once a sensation in the Central Realm, Majiao Baihua was established at the Celestial Pioneer stage. As he ran, tears streaming down his face, he thought, who would have imagined that our enemy would ally with so many holy forces to launch an immense siege against my Majiao Baihuo? I can only recklessly deplete all my strength and charge out of the encirclement into this barren land. Yet now, I've ended up in such a tragic predicament. That old man, acting like a madman, chased after him and launched a move. Pretty lady, if you don't hurry and run, my sect's Taoist is about to Sensing danger, he quickly turned back and extended his hand to cast a chaining tech. He countered the old man's attack and then took the chance to flee. He tumbled into another patch of bamboo and got up, hacking and wheezing. Seeing that, the old man grew anxious, thinking, how can someone at just the basic bamboo cultivator level possibly withstand my perfected 5-nail late-stage golden core pill? Could he be a prodigy from some major sect out for a stroll? Then he unleashed another move without a second thought. Deciding, I'll press on, and he hurled a needle onto the ground, which circled around him from all 4 sides, forming a formation. The old man soared over with a malicious grin and said, Hey, pretty lady, it's over now. Come here and obediently raise your hands to be bound. Seeing this, he gritted his teeth and thought, Damn that old dog. The man strode over and clutched the sides of her jaw, saying, Pretty lady, do not resist any longer. My patience has its limits. Behave and endure for a while. Having run out of tricks, he lowered his head in anger, then tore off his robe and bellowed, Open your eyes wide and see clearly. I'm a man. The old man was astonished. A man? Suddenly, the atmosphere became unusually somber and quiet. After standing frozen for several seconds, he finally said, So you really are a man? Didn't I chase after you in vain? He tugged at his robe in anger and said, Clearly, I am a man just like you, so stop following me. Suddenly, he raised his hand and declared, Enough! Then, acting perversely, he added, You see, being a man isn't a disadvantage at all. Hearing those insulting words, the other snapped in anger and launched a retreat move. You're such a coward. Even as a man, I won't spare you. Even if I had to burn my entire inner alchemy, I'd never yield. The old man was dumbfounded. What level of technique is this? How can someone at the basic bamboo stage create such a grand formation? Furious, he cursed, Damn fool, you've completely pissed me off. He then unleashed a move toward the old man. Drop dead! That ultimate move came so suddenly that the old man had no time to counter. Hold on, wait a minute, he stammered. The old man was hit, and everything around him burst into chaos. He couldn't withstand it and howled in desperate agony. After unleashing his move, he was completely spent and collapsed, saying, This is all your own doing. Seeing the old man scorched and struck by the move, he remarked, What misfortune to encounter something like this. My inner alchemy is nearly shattered. I must quickly find a place to recover before proceeding. Suddenly a voice rang out, Hey, damn fool, you really do have an impressive pedigree. Hearing this, he turned to look. Then he stood up, glancing around in alarm, and asked, Who's there? Another old man holding a staff approached and said to the disciple, Don't overthink it, little one. I was merely passing by. I'm not an accomplice of that damned scoundrel. Besides, my nature is perfectly ordinary, so you can rest easy. Hearing that, he felt somewhat reassured, and clasping his hands said, Very well then, if that's so, perhaps in the future, Taoist practice. Before he could leave, the old man suddenly advanced to the old man smirked maliciously and said, But compared to the one before, I find the secret on your person even more intriguing." After finishing his words, the old man unleashed yet another move, laughing. "Heh, let me see what exactly is in your head that allows you to wield such powerful divine arts." Seeing this from the balding old man, he retorted, "You old baldy, taking advantage of someone's peril will never end well." He dropped to his knees, slamming his hand on the ground, and in anguished determination cried, "How could my cultivation path end here? I will not submit. I will not submit." Unexpectedly, the bamboo grove trembled as another person arrived, a presence that shook the very heavens and earth. Before the old man could react, he quickly turned around, his face full of astonishment. "What is this? How can such a tiny, desolate region produce a grand transformation deity?" Deep Fu had appeared, looking extremely angry as he glared at the old man. Seeing Deep Fu, the old man quickly bowed and pleaded, "Elder, please have mercy. He is under your command. I'll leave immediately." Deep Fu would not tolerate that. He unleashed a move and declared, "A lowly wretch like you is not worth living any longer." In one fell swoop, a supreme move pierced straight through. Seeing Deep Fu's formidable strength, he gritted his teeth and thought, "First I lose a golden core pill, and now a transformation deity appears? Could it be that today I truly cannot escape this fate?" Deep Fu looked at the man before him, bewildered, and said, "Hey you, tell me, are you the cult leader of the demon cult or a true immortal? Isn't it said that you're nothing more than a weak bamboo cultivator? Are you trying to deceive me?" Suddenly, the system's message appeared. "System, this is no deception. This individual was indeed once the cult leader of the demon cult in the Zhuo Mountains. His cultivation merely declined over time, and an information panel about him flashed on screen. Name, Hong Thien Deep. Gender, male. Natural talent, heavenly abundance, immortal grade. Fire element, spiritual root, fate, suffering, misfortune. Previously, cult leader of the fire cult and a fire cultivator who aided others in achieving." Depfam read it and was stunned. It's true, but with a name like that, could he really be a man? Then Dipfam approached Niethian Diep and silently mused, "Ah, such smooth, fair skin and exquisitely refined features, with long, flowing hair that would make any girl feel inadequate. Anyone who sees you might even mistake your gender." Meanwhile, Hong Thien Diep was perplexed, wondering, is he looking at me like that because he too fancies men? At that moment, Dipfam continued to gaze at Thien Diep, stroking his chin in thought. Though he is only at the bamboo cultivator stage, with his natural talent and my past experience, restoring him to his former peak will be much easier. Taking him on as a then Depfam spoke, "I find your appearance rather unusual, a rare prodigy in cultivation. From today onward, I decide to take you as my disciple. What do you say?" Thien Deep was stunned. "What? You want to take me on as your disciple?" Inwardly, he wondered, could it be that you wish to further explore the secrets on my person? Indeed, whether it's a treasured talisman or a matter of fate, it's not what one would expect from a transformation deity. And so then Thien Diep looked at Diepfam with a disdainful, scheming glare and thought, with a cultivation level like yours, in the past I could barely even gain admission into the outer sect of the fire cult. And now you, a mere transformation deity, expect me to be your disciple? What a ridiculous— Deep Quan Lam smirked and suddenly laughed coldly, teasing, "What's wrong? Judging by your look, it seems you're unwilling to be my disciple, aren't you?" Clearly picking up on the hidden meaning behind his question, Thien Deep's face tensed. She jumped and stepped back slightly. Though she admitted that he might not be worthy of being her master, her current cultivation wasn't nearly strong enough to stand against the Blue Mountain. Besides, what was there to fear? Once I restore my cultivation and become a master, I'll repay this humiliation 1,000-fold. After finishing her thoughts, she once again stepped before Diep Quan Lam, clasped her hands, and knelt down. In her mind, becoming a disciple of Hong Thien Diep by Kien Su Tan was the greatest honor a disciple could ever attain. Although she spoke sweet words to please Quan Lam, inside she thought that it was nothing more than an act, merely going through the motions. Her face twisted as she gritted her teeth, thinking, there will come a time when I will surely reclaim this humiliation. At that moment, her eyes burned with hatred as they fixed. Hearing this, Quan Lam immediately raised his hand and said in a stern tone, "Obedient disciple, stand up at once. From now on, I shall call you Little Hong, Little Hong." Her eyes narrowed as Hong Diep, furious to the point of trembling, stuttered, "Yes, master, as you command." Observing her expression, Quan Lam immediately detected the suppressed resentment hidden within her every word. The feigned sincerity of this little miss was all too obvious, but it didn't matter. After all, when facing a strong opponent, one must be even stronger. "Why should I fear that you might betray me?" Then the system's voice rang out. "Congratulations, owner, on completing the task. Reward: the Divine Technique Manual for Auto. Congratulations, owner. You have received the Tang Thien Quan Hidden Within, which contains 108 restrictions and will gradually be unlocked as your cultivation realm advances. Right before you is a third-grade Ling Qi. Automatic self-cultivation? So, by simply lying still, one becomes stronger? According to my memory, all divine techniques follow a cultivation progression: initiation, small establishment, great establishment, full mastery, and then realm transformation. Each stage creates an influence and effect that can multiply your power by 10 or even 100. The system's voice then resounded once more. Transforming into an object resembling a coffin, the Tang Thien Quan, the heavenly burial gaze, can enter earth and sky. It can bury the soil or even all things. It can be used to refine and transform any living creature. In its later stages, it can even enter the myriad celestial beings. Detected the innate potential of the owner's disciple. Our system provides you with a complimentary level-up service package. Bonus: the Fire System Divine Technique Manual, 3 Celestial Flames of Majestic Splendor. Bonus task reward: the mission has now concluded. May I ask? Deep Quan Lam's expression turned to one of satisfaction. Inwardly, he mused about the system's treasured magical safeguard, a reward so boldly proclaimed to be powerful enough to bury the entire heavenly Tao. I wonder, he thought, once my cultivation realm ascends further, just how formidable this Tang Thien Quan will become. This is exactly the system's attitude toward transmigrators like Huaxia. Indeed, ha ha ha! Over on the side, Hong Dep cast a disdainful glance at Dep Quan Lam, who was happily smiling. Clenching her fists, she mused, "Just wait until I take my revenge. Let's see how arrogant he becomes once he realizes that his disciple possesses such an innate celestial." Deep Quan Lam turned in surprise, pointing a finger at Hong Diep as he teasingly remarked, "Little Hong, you can't always be so sullen. Don't you think that I, your master, deserve better?" Stung by his words, little Hong felt they were spot on. Sweat broke out on her face as she stammered, "Master, you misunderstand, though, naturally, I often wear this expression. Yet, inside, I am constantly belittling you, Diep Quan Lam. Haha, you're nothing but a petty little divine transformation, and you still dare to lecture me on how to act." Diep Quan Lam then retrieved a book wrapped in flames, the very one the system had awarded him, and said, "It appears that if I hadn't revealed even a hint of my tactics, you would never have submitted to your master. This manual is indeed the one your master—" "Many thanks, master." Hong Dep folded her hands in gratitude and bowed her head. Yet in her eyes, a look of scorn flashed as she sneered. "This book, to me, it proves that you, a petty divine transformation from the savage lands, can only muster up such trash." Dep Quan Lam placed the book before her, closed his eyes to sense the flame emanating from it in resonance with her, and remarked, "Is this the 3 Celestial Flames of Majestic Splendor manual? What sort of cultivation technique is this?" After a while, as if sensing something unexpected, she began to stutter in disbelief, a stark contrast to her earlier disdain. Her eyes widened in astonishment. "The Kich Lone No Hoa Fap once enabled me to attain immortal enlightenment. It was the pinnacle fire technique of the mid-realm. But compared to this 3 Celestial Flames of Majestic Splendor, that old technique is nothing." Unable to endure its intense heat, she shut one eye tightly and gaped in disbelief. The 3 Celestial Flames of Majestic Splendor completely shattered her previous understanding of fire techniques. They were unquestionably of an immortal caliber. Indeed, they even reached the legendary Holy. Hong Diep became completely absorbed in the manual that her master had bestowed upon her, exclaiming with delight, "With the assistance of this technique, my true strength will skyrocket beyond imagination. No longer will a mere returning true immortal suffice." Noticing the look on Dep Quan Lam's face, she continued, "Are you satisfied with the technique your master granted you?" Little Hong turned away with a forced smile and said, "Thanks to master's cultivation technique, I have reaped considerable benefits." Yet, deep down, she still did not hold Diep Quan Lam in high esteem. Humph. I wonder just how ill-fated you must be to have encountered such an opportunity in this death. While Xiao Hong was deep in thought, Quan Lam took out an auxiliary pill from within himself and handed it to her, saying, "If you have comprehended the technique, then I shall give you another pill to further aid you." Upon seeing the pill, her expression turned to one of utter astonishment as she cried out, This is the fire primordial. You are willing to give it to me?" Quan Lam, standing behind, laughed and said, "Oh, so you recognize this pill as well." Holding the pill in her hand, she thought, for cultivators specializing in the fire technique, the fire primordial pill is simply an immortal pill granted by the heavens, capable of maximally enhancing one's power, and so precious that even immortals would fight over it. Continuously, there appeared other high-grade items. Hong Dai glanced at Quan Lam and thought, how can a cultivator at the tiny immortal stage obtain these two things? Even at the peak of my prime, I wouldn't have the ability to acquire them. Seeing Xiao Hong's expression, Quan Lam questioned, how can you possibly doubt the treasures that Master Vai has bestowed upon you? Startled, she quickly replied, Master, that's absolutely not the case. A disciple who has met the Master and been accepted as a principal disciple gains triple the karmic merit. Yet in his heart, he thought, perhaps this one doesn't understand just how rare these techniques and pills are. He must have obtained them by chance from some ancient relic. I need to remain calm. Observing Hong Tian Dai's ever-changing expression, Quan Lam sighed inwardly. What's with this Macult sect patriarch? His face keeps shifting. It's rather amusing. He said, yes, use this pill. I will personally guard your cultivation, Hong Dai. Hearing this, she quickly bowed and replied, yes, many thanks, Master. Hong Tian Dai hurriedly swallowed. After taking the pill, she sat down in frustration. In the blink of an eye, blue smoke rose from her head. Her skin, white as snow, suddenly flushed red like fired clay. Her whole body seemed to be consumed by flames as she underwent a transformation. Quan Lam, watching Hong Tian Dai's aura, thought from Bu core stage to mid-chi to late-chi to peak, then perfect golden pill, and finally primary nascent soul. The girl truly is a genuine immortal cultivator. In less than half an hour, she has broken through from bamboo core to the primary nascent soul stage. What a fine seed indeed. Feeling the change, Hong Tian Dai could no longer bear it and shouted out, a shout so powerful that its aura made the entire bamboo forest tremble. What an astonishing breakthrough! I never expected it to happen so quickly. When I return to the mid-realm, I will definitely take revenge for the past humiliation. Seeing her master's slightly odd expression, she softly coughed. Just now you shook Master with your insolence, such discourtesy from a disciple. Dep Quan Lam waved his hand and said, it's all right. Follow Master Vai back to the sect, and I will introduce you to the various masters and return to the Xuantan sect immediately. Everyone present was discussing how Master Dipe Feng had slain the original Dipe Feng. Master Deep is too formidable. Just with a flick of his finger, he killed the original Dipe Feng twice over and thrice saved the Xuantian sect from total annihilation. Some even sighed in regret. How unfortunate that back then my eyes were as blind as a bat. I missed the chance to kowtow to Dipe Feng. Otherwise, by now I'd have become a disciple of his peak sect. Given his strength, his standards for recruiting disciples must be extremely high. Who knows whom he'll choose next? While they were discussing, Diep Quan Lam spoke from above with a nonchalant air. A disciple called out, everyone, look! Master Dipe Feng has returned. All the disciples immediately focused their attention in that direction. Suddenly, they noticed the female companion trailing behind him. Oh, who is that woman? They marveled. With her graceful appearance, Hong Dai urged the male disciples, compliment her. She's truly beautiful. Meanwhile, the female disciples seethed with jealousy. Hong Tian Dai, wearing a dazzling red robe with skin as white as snow and an exquisitely delicate face, looked upon the crowd with an expression of disgust. This Taoist sect is utterly pathetic. Their cultivation is so low, they aren't even worthy of wearing the shoes of our Ma cult. Huang Hunian stepped out from the main hall, glanced at Hong Tian Dai and quickly asked, Disciple Deep, for this at that moment, Quan Lam happily draped an arm over Hong Dai and cheerfully announced, This is the disciple I happened to come across along the way. Xiao Hong, Hurry, all the sect masters exclaimed. A disciple? Master Daipfong, how did you acquire such a beautiful disciple? Master Fong of Thianko, slender and swaying as he stepped forward to introduce himself, caught Hong Tiandai's sharply piercing gaze. Pointing a finger, he declared, I am a man. No sooner had he spoken than Hong Tiandai's aura intensified so powerfully that Master Thianko staggered backwards. Noticing something, she stuttered, Primary nascent soul? All over. She broke into a cold. Not letting Tiandai get her way, Quan Lam advanced and admonished, Xiao Hong, don't be insolent. This is my senior sister. Apologize immediately. Hong Tiandai quickly bowed her head. I'm sorry. I, a mere disciple, have been disrespectful. Yet inwardly she seethed. I will hold back just a little longer. Once I undergo divine transformation, I will surely avenge. Quan Lam stepped forward with a smile and raised his hand. Yes, a child so easy to teach. Now that the introductions are over, I'll take Xiao Hong back to the peak of Fiomio so you can settle down a bit. The sect master responded. All right, disciple. Afterwards, Quan Lam and Hong Dai flew off toward Fiomio. As they departed, Sect Master Fong of Fiomio and Master Thianko exchanged exclamations. How on earth did Deep Fong secure a disciple of the primary nascent soul stage? His methods are so profound and inscrutable. Within less than a day, our Dipe disciple has at Fiomio, the Sect Master said, You are the principal disciple of Master V, so here on this peak you may choose as you please without being overly formal. Deep Quan Lam added, Hongdi, look at these crumbling structures glancing sideways with narrowed eyes. After a moment, Hongdai managed to speak. Inside, he fumed. What kind of miserable, dilapidated place is this? The living quarters of the miscellaneous disciples of Baihuoma cult are 100 times. Must I really live in a place like this? Xiao Hong wondered. Dep Quan Lam then said, Remember well, only the weak complain about their circumstances. The strong will learn quickly to adapt. As for cultivators, these external conditions, though a bit filthy, can be cleaned up by yourself. Having finished speaking, he flew off. Hong Tiandai stood rooted to the spot, her hands clenched into fists as she stifled the anger threatening to burst forth. It's all right, I'll endure. Given my current cultivation speed, I'll soon transform. Just wait, Dep Quan Lam. Scene shifts to Than Chao at the Wuhua sect. In the main hall, a laid-back figure was seated while another individual knelt with his head bowed. That kneeling individual held a fate card engraved. A man clad in a golden robe radiating an awe-inspiring aura was none other than the former patriarch Wu Hoa of the Wuhua sect. The kneeling disciple spoke up. Master, isn't it the fault of the child? It was the child who entrusted Mok Lao with the pill for his senior disciple. Mok Lao's death has caused the disciple so much worry. He constantly fears that his father's sect might be implicated, and so he wished to go to the wastelands himself to see what's amiss. As he spoke, his brow furrowed and his eyes betrayed extreme fear and anxiety. This was Tran Kyo Theo. The sect former patriarch Q Duong spoke. Kid, do you know why I took you as my disciple? The disciple replied, Because you see that I possess the physique and innate. Tran Q responded, That is only one reason. The other is that Master Vi saw an immense ambition in you. A person who craves power would never be held back by mere familial ties. At that moment, former patriarch Kuduong's eyes shone with a fearsome golden light as he crushed the fate card in his hand. He continued, The days for the disciple competition are drawing near. You should prepare quickly. Defeat the other primary disciples and claim the top spot, and the sect will allocate additional resources to you. That is the true benefit. But that's nothing special. This Fong Loi sect is but a minor one. I will send someone to the wastelands to investigate. You just need to concentrate on clinching the top position for our master. Hearing this, Tran Hu, clasping his hands, said, Disciple understands perfectly. I will not disappoint your expectations, master. Returning to Fiomio, Diep Quan Lam was sitting on a chair, basking in the sun. After a while, he called out, Xiao Hong, are you finished yet? Master can't wait any longer. He glanced behind him. Hong Tiandai's expression was one of displeasure as she carried several meat skewers over. Arriving, she said, Master, the disciple will bring these to you immediately. As she walked, she thought, all he cares about is eating. I really can't understand how a cultivator at the divine transformation stage can be so obsessed with food. Just yesterday, he admonished me not to complain about our environment, and today he's lost himself in gluttony. Quan Lam, holding two grimy skewers in his hand as he ate, praised, "This meat and bean curd are truly wonderful. Oh, it's delicious. Those secret seasonings prepared for the skewer by the general's son are simply marvelous." Noticing Hong Tian Dai standing beside him, Dep Quan Lam picked up a skewer and handed it to her. "Now, Xiao Hong, make one for yourself. Don't be so formal." At that, Xiao Hong turned away and said, "Master, this disciple has become completely indifferent and no longer finds pleasure in worldly food. You really don't respect Master Vai? If a cultivator isn't like this, then what is he striving for?" Xiao Hong quickly replied, "I'm sorry, Master. If that's your advice, then this disciple will have to eat one skewer." Hong Tian Dai thought disdainfully, "This Daip Quan Lam is truly a strange creature in the world of cultivation. What's so special about these shabby meat skewers anyway?" As she mused, she put a piece of meat into her mouth and mumbled. After taking a bite, her eyes lit up. This flavor, it's the taste of meat exploding in your mouth. The burst of flavor stimulated her tongue. "It's so delicious. I haven't felt this happy since I was a child." As she complimented the food, tears streamed down her face. Meanwhile, Quan Lam, eating on one side, looked on with a disdainful gaze and muttered, "What's wrong?" Inside, Hong Tian Dai was overwhelmed with emotion. Smiling softly, she recalled her childhood memories, times when she was always hungry and dreamed of just one bite of meat. The indescribable joy of tasting meat for the first time had left an everlasting impression.